Today I'm going to introduce to you this right here, the iPad mini 6th generation. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's a great tool for filmmakers. And I'm not really going to talk about too much about the specs on this device because if you're looking for an iPad mini 6th gen in 2024, that means that you're not worried about having the higher end specs. Of course, an iPad Pro with an M2 chip would be a lot better than this one. But the question is this iPad good enough? Which lead me into why I bought this iPad. I bought it for three main uses. The first one is to take on sets. The second one is for productivity, taking notes, checking emails and stuff like that. And the third one is for social media use. I think the most interesting uses for most people will be the first two, so those are the ones I'm gonna focus on, but I'll include a little segment on why I use it for social media. I think it's also important to clarify what devices I already have and how I usually use them. My main computer is a desktop setup. I have a Mac Studio for editing and for work at home, but I needed something on the go. Also, to put it in perspective, my phone is an iPhone 8 that I bought back in 2019, I think. So I'm still pretty happy with this phone, but all the apps for lights and camera and gimbals and stuff were weighing it down. So I was looking for a device that would take that weight off my phone. That's when I started to look at the iPad lineup. And of course, what most people recommended was the iPad Pro. There are a lot of benefits in that model, but most of them didn't apply to me. I don't need a fantastic camera on an iPad. I already have my cameras that I take out. I don't need a fast chip that's able to edit. I already have a dedicated computer for that. I didn't need the features of the more expensive devices. So after watching a lot of reviews and debating a ton, I pulled the trigger and bought the iPad mini. The first thing that struck me is just how beautiful it is. I really like the look. Just look at it. Look how tiny it is. It looks so good. I don't know why you wouldn't get it. I love the quality of the screen. I love how responsive it is. And the apps that I open work perfectly. Some of the apps I use are not optimized for iPad, like Instagram and Citus Link. And I think this being a smaller iPad actually helps, because when I open it, it doesn't distort the image too much. It still feels pretty natural to use it on this screen. The only downside that I found is the battery life. It doesn't last as long maybe as the bigger models, but it charges pretty fast. So I think it's something I can live with. I got the base version of this iPad, so 64 gigs, because I wasn't planning on loading videos and photos and heavy stuff on it. Most of the things that I keep on the iPad are text documents that are really light. And before talking about the tools that I think are useful for every filmmaker, I'm going to talk about the tools that I use it for that are a little bit more personal. And that is social media. Like I said, I have an older iPhone that still works well for me. And that's because I don't use social media on my phone. Last year, I deleted all of the social media apps from my phone, and now I keep it very light and I use it mostly for texting and Googling stuff. But since a social media presence is important for most of us creatives, I still have to use the apps from time to time. And that's when the iPad mini comes in. I have all the social media apps on this iPad, and then I log in when I need to check my messages or share something. It's a lot nicer to have the apps on a device that's not always with me. So whenever I sit down to check my Instagram or my YouTube apps, I know I'm dedicating the time just for that. Another benefit of this device actually is that media consumption is great. Watching videos on a bigger screen but it's still light enough to hold it is really comfortable. So that's a use that I didn't plan for, but I really enjoy watching YouTube on this device. Now with that very personal social media aspect out of the way, let's go into the tools that I think are useful for every filmmaker. The first is controlling all the multiple apps now that every single device on set has. As I've mentioned before, I've worked as a professional gaffer on set, and now every single light brand has their own app. So I keep these apps on my iPad, and then I take it to set and I'm able to open and control all of them. So of course, the apps that I use the most are the Aperture Citus Link app that I even use at home. So I have two lights connected here at home, my key light and the bulb also in the back there. So I can go to the bulb and I can turn it off. I can change colors of it. I can make it blue. I can make it red. And like that, on a lot of sets that I work on have aperture lights, so I connect all of them and then I have a little control panel on my iPad. The great thing about the size of the iPad as well is that I can have it on me at all times when I'm on set. I basically just put it on this fanny pack. I put it in, I close it, and then I cross this across my chest. And I have my iPad always on me so I can take it out and control the lights when I need to. This is not only useful for gaffers and lights, since it seems that now every single brand have their own app. I also have the Ronin app when I need to control one of the gimbals. And I also have my Lumix app, which I use rarely to have an extra monitor if I need it. So it can be useful to control lights, control cameras, control gimbals, and it's nice to have a little central hub with all the apps you use on set that you can carry around with you at all times. And then the last thing, which is what I actually use the iPad for the most, is productivity. In my case, I use it to check emails, check my schedule, take notes, and write down ideas for videos. I actually pair it with this case right here, which is a little case that has a keyboard so I can write down things quicker. And I really like the combination of the two, especially considering that this detaches easily. It's just like a little magnet here. So whenever I don't need the keyboard, I can just use it normally like this. The case has a little space for the Apple Pencil. And then when I know that I'm gonna be replying to emails or writing stuff down, I put it in and I type away. The battery of the keyboard lasts really long as well, so that's a pro. And to charge it, you use the same USB-C port that you would use to charge the iPad. So I use the same cable and that's it. And that's actually another advantage of this device. It has USB-C, so you can plug in a USB-C adapter and plug in other things to it. I've used it to download pictures, quickly edit them, and then share them. So even though I wouldn't use it to edit pictures professionally, it is good for creative use as well. The main productivity apps that I use are Google Calendars to check my availabilities, the Mail app to just reply to emails, Google Drive, Google Docs, and Google Sheets to have information about the shoots that I'm on, and the most important is actually Microsoft OneNote. For me, the best note-taking app for the iPad, because you can either write down using the keyboard or you can switch to the Apple Pencil and just write down like if it was a regular notebook. I use OneNote to write my ideas for these videos, and then once they're written down, I keep the iPad here down in the table so I can check them as I go through the video. The amount of apps I use are limited to what I do, but if you were more into the producing and organizing side of filmmaking, you can keep all your schedules, call sheets, and every other document here. And that's why I think this iPad is perfect for filmmakers. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it really well. I like having this separate device, a bit bigger but still portable, that I can take around and work on more specific things. This iPad keeps it simple and I like simple. I wanted to put out a video about it because I feel like it's an underrepresented device. We often talk about the latest and greatest devices and we forget that good enough might be just perfect. If you were looking for a portable device bigger than your phone that can help you in your filmmaking practice, this is the one. It brings all of the joy of the iPad experience without the big cost. And most importantly, it handles all the apps really smoothly. It's not really necessary to spend more than $1,000 on a device where you won't use most of the features. Sometimes you can get something cheaper and it's going to be perfect for what you use it for. That's it for me for today. See you next time.